The most frequently asked question that I get asked about Korean natural farming is, can I use molasses instead of sugar for my inputs? And until I find out otherwise, my answer, sadly, will always be the same: no. But here's the reason why. Typically, people think about sugar as a food source for microorganisms. But the way that we use sugar in KNF is pretty different. And my favorite example to explain this is raw honey. Honey contains bacteria, fungi, and yeast that is perfectly preserved and kept dormant indefinitely. But the second you add water to it, it starts to ferment, meaning the microbes go to work, consuming the fructose and glucose in the honey and turning it into alcohol. And this is called mead, by the way. Before the water is added, though, those microbes are, strange as it may sound, locked in a dehydrated state. There's not enough moisture to keep them active, and they enter into a dormant state through something called high osmotic stress. Osmotic stress occurs when moisture is rapidly drawn out of one substance to balance out a different substance with a lower amount of water. And this is what happens when we mix chopped up plant debris or fish waste with sugar. The sugar is dry, relatively speaking, compared to the plant debris or fish material. Osmotic pressure begins to draw moisture out of this high water content material, mixing it with the sugar and preserving the microbes and nutrients that are drawn out from those materials in a syrupy liquid. That liquid, when strained out, is actually lacking the water content for the microbes and enzymes to stay active. They're dehydrated until we wake them up again by adding them to a sprayer or watering can with dechlorinated water. And that's why the process doesn't work with molasses or honey, for that matter. The hydration starting point for both of those liquids is low enough that they don't ferment on their own. And that's why the process doesn't work with molasses or honey, for that matter. The hydration starting point for both of those liquids is low enough that they don't ferment on their own, but they're not going to extract moisture and therefore the microbes, the enzymes, hormones, and nutrients from our plant and fish material. Same thing with lactic acid, bacteria, and IMO1. We need the sugar to balance out the hydration so that the microbes can go dormant and stay locked down and don't ferment themselves into a substance that won't help us in the garden. Let me know if that explanation made any sense to you in the comments, and any further questions that you have about KNF and preserving your inputs. And make sure to subscribe so that you keep getting all the amazing ways that you can use these inputs in your garden for a killer growing season.